Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Morgan podcast. I am your host. My name is Rod Morgan. We are liked by canines and humans alike. Thank you very much for joining us for this live broadcast on a Thursday evening. There's normally a few more of us for discussions about sports, namely football and basketball, but occasionally we'll touch on a few other sports. We always touch on wrestling year round. That is the canines' favorite part of this podcast is our wrestling commentary. And occasionally we'll even have some fun doing some pop culture things, some drafts. That's what we're most known for here. We had a Christmas draft recently. That was a cool episode. If you're still in the Christmas spirit, go back and check that one out. We'll cook up another draft here soon. But joining me tonight is the co-host of the Morgan podcast, the executive producer of the Morgan podcast, frankly, the brains behind this operation. I might consider myself the talent, and I might have a little bit of charisma, but Jimmy, you are the brains.
You're definitely the talent, Rod. I am definitely the brains of the operation. I'm just lucky to be here. Honestly, I know how to do a little bit computer work more than you do. And you know what? I both love and honestly, I still kind of love football.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good assessment. Our football handicapper, Josh Williams, is not here this week. I believe there is a furnace problem. We're not trying to go any deeper than that, but I believe there's a furnace problem. And if you live, frankly, anywhere, I guess, in the United States this weekend, you know that is a big time deal. So Mr. Williams is not going to be with us this evening. The old man, I believe, Jimmy, was it a horseshoe issue or was it a wheel on the buggy coming home from Indianapolis that's delaying the old man?
It was a horse stepped on a nail, Rod. Happens to the best of us. He's got to get that little device out to kind of shave it down. It's going to be a while for him.
It definitely is. So Chris is going to be with us this week. I was unable to join last week because of internet issues. Actually, it might have been more of a cash issue now that I look back on it, Jimmy. Is there some sort of force working against us that we can't get all four of us together here these last 2 weeks?
Yeah, there was just so much going on in our lives as far as our teams were really doing well for a while there, and some of our teams did exceptionally well, Rod.
That's right. I'm bummed that Chris and Williams don't get the chance to celebrate IU with us here, Jimmy, but I think we should start the show with that. I've lived in the Hoosier State my entire life. You have just recently left the Hoosier State after living in it most of your life, other than occasional dalliances in Ohio, I believe. Mm-hmm. And I could not have fathomed what we just witnessed, Jimmy. The IU football team going undefeated, right? We're not talking about Bob Knight and the Hoosier basketball team going undefeated, which has been sainted in the state of Indiana my entire life. We just saw the football team go 16-0 and win the national championship. Jimmy, your thoughts?
I was one of the 30.1 million viewers, peaking at 33 million viewers watching that. It's the biggest audience since 2014 or 2015, I think, Ohio State.
Wow, I hadn't heard that. Why do you think that is?
Because of the story. Because they wanted to see IU win, I think. And 33 million compared to 35 million or whatever it was in 2015 is apples and oranges. The amount of people who don't have television right now and are streaming things is amazing. So that boggles my mind, first of all. I'm not going to lie. A little tear came to my eye at the very end. It was just such a great moment. And if you haven't seen the end, the Hoosiers music to Mendoza getting the touchdown, if you have not seen that reel, watch the reel. It's amazing. It'll put a more tear to your eye. Kurt Signetti pointing to the sky saying, "Dad, we did it." It's not a Cinderella story. Last year would have been a Cinderella story. This is just a continuation. I thought it was amazing. And they actually did it. I was so scared because they were giving Miami everything. Miami was marching down that field, Rod, and that interception. I can't believe it. There are so many people, and I know I'm going on a little soliloquy here. Sorry, but
no, go ahead. There's only two of us tonight, my friend.
I guess we have to. Yeah, there are so many people whose fathers and grandfathers and things like that have never seen anything like this, never thought about this. One of my, my former director at the job I was at in Indiana had pictures of him and his daughter, who has graduated college now, but back when there were like 400 people in the stands watching the games. What a great moment for IU. The national championship trophy right now is at Kroguchi for my Bloomington fans right now. That's where that is. How cool is that?
Speaking of the pro Bloomington fans, I actually want to give a shout out to the folks in Bloomington for comporting themselves rather well, right? We saw a couple burned couches. We saw some street signs, but nothing too violent, nothing too terrible out of the Bloomington students there. So congratulations to them on that.
There was also, Rod, very cold that night, too. Very, very cold. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that probably had something to do with it because guys were out in the streets and ready to tear it up. And then 20 minutes later, they're like, this is cold. We're done. Yeah, we're done with this.
I've been here since 4:00 yesterday trying to get into one of the bars. So I'm kind of tired.
It's time to go home for some chicken noodle soup or some hot chocolate. But I think the other storybook part that I really loved is I saw a tweet. I think it was even 2 days later that I saw this tweet where one of the guys that Mendoza ran through on the 4th and 5 QB run that scored the touchdown that ultimately played huge in the game was a guy who hit him and ended his season at Cal. And then he comes back the next year. Yeah, I can't think of the Miami player's name. He put a pretty, not necessarily an illegal lick, but kind of a dirty lick on him at Cal. Mendoza, I guess, was out the rest of the season. He comes back, runs through that guy, scores the touchdown that ultimately takes IU to the championship. And I couldn't help but think of Chris, Jimmy. I couldn't help but think of Chris. And I didn't do it in the group thread. I texted him specifically, and I just said congratulations because I knew how much it meant to him. You know what I mean? Like a guy like him that lives and dies and bleeds cream and crimson. And it's usually for basketball. That's the thing that makes it so crazy to me. It's usually for basketball, and IU is now a football school. It just is, right? DeVries, things are looking a little shaky for IU basketball again already, right? IU is completely a football school now, and it's because of a 64-year-old man with not really much charisma, but at the same time, all the charisma in the world, and that's what makes Signetti great.
It is funny because you're right. He has no charisma whatsoever, but he's totally charismatic. That look that he did on that first down, he's like, I don't know. Yeah, okay, it's fine. That's going to be a meme forever. Jamari Sharp, who got the interception, his uncle had the PI against Miami, Ohio State that made Ohio State win. He gets the interception. It's just there's so many stories here. You want to do the movie, you don't have to do the movie. Just play the highlights. That's the movie.
The Indiana highlight tape for 2026 is a sports movie in itself, Jimmy. That is a great way to put it. And we are going to shift gears to the NFL, but we're going to stick with storytellers. You see what I did there, Jimmy? We're going to stick with storytellers a little bit because we don't have our handicapper, Jimmy. So nobody should be coming to us for EPA, luck stats, ref stats, how many times they play this shell, how many times they do this cover. Like nobody should come to us for any of that, right?
Rod, we're going to go over our predictions before the season. No one should talk to me about football about anything.
You know what? That's a good point. Let's prove to the people why they should not listen to us break down the game in the same way that Williams can. And then we're going to show them what they should listen to us talk about football for. But give us some of the predictions we made at the beginning of the year.
All right, Rod, congratulations, buddy. You actually said that the halftime show at the Super Bowl will be country star laden. We're going to have 10 or 15 country acts. Jerry Garcia is then going to come back from the dead to mess everything up because you wanted to make sure that definitely country, we're not going to offend anybody. It's just country. How'd that go?
That one did go very well. And apparently it's some weird way, maybe unfortunately made Bob Weir pass because we recently lost another member of the Grateful Dead, Jimmy. So now there'd be two of them that would have to come back for that. So I think maybe that might be the energy against me, or it could just be the fact that they picked back Buddy a long time ago. It completely blew my prediction out of the water. I'm not sure which one
could have been it. Could have been it. I said that the Cowboys would have the number 1 pick in the NFL draft, which then caused Chris and I to have our first and loudest fight about relevance in the NFL. I wasn't right. They have the number 12 pick, but I was kind of right, though. I want to get a little bit of credit for that because the Cowboys had a crappy season.
I forgot that was the origination of the relevance dig that would go back and forth between you two all year. It would even make it into our someday to be available to our Patreon subscribers only, the group thread that includes you, me, Chris, Williams, many of the other guys that have come on the network. Someday we will allow Patreon subscribers to be in that group thread. But you even do that joke in there, and I love that. I don't love that I forgot it, but thank you for reminding me where that comes from.
Chris also said, how dare I talk about relevance when we're putting all our hopes on someone we call the Lord and Savior? That's ridiculous, Jimmy. Well, Chris was wrong on that one, wasn't he?
He sure was.
Speaking of Chris being wrong, Shadur Sanders is going to get the Offensive Rookie of the Year and play 14 games this season. He played 8 games, did not get the Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Chris being wrong is one of my favorite things we do on the show, Jimmy. I love that we're doing this while he's not here.
Williams also said that the Cowboys are going to have the second worst record in the NFL. They did not, so he and I were both wrong on that. Whenever you agree with Jimmy, you are wrong. Remember that. Let's go back.
You guys both should get a little bit of credit, though, because the Cowboys were pretty bad.
They did have a really bad season. Travion Henderson was going to get Offensive Rookie of the Year. He had that at 14-1, Josh Williams. Josh Williams lost 14-1 money. Travion Henderson.
Certain weeks, right? If you would have closed your eyes for other weeks and looked at only certain weeks, you'd have been like, hey, Williams is onto something here. But unfortunately, they make you look at the 17 game span before they give the trophy away.
Let's see. Oh, another one. Rod, you said R.J. Harvey would have 16 yards from the line of scrimmage. He had 896. Again, wrong, but he was a very good player. He didn't get a lot of touches at all at the very beginning of the season.
That was where I failed, Jim. That's where I failed and let everybody down, is because I know that Sean Payton is the kind of guy that likes people to know he's the coach. He likes the people to know that he's turning the screws. It's his scheme. So he loves just cycling in running backs. He doesn't
J.K. Dobbins got a lot of work at the very beginning, and then he got hurt again, which, by the way, J.K. Dobbins, dude, I'm sorry. I mean, it's ridiculous.
He's like the Darius Garland of the NFL.
He is. All right, let's talk about some things that we got right, shall we?
Okay.
Chris King, Kyler Murray is going to play his last season with the Cardinals. He got it right. He also kind of got it wrong because they only played half a season. They didn't want him back. But good job with Chris there. I think Kyler Murray will not be a Cardinal next year.
I'm going to throw a flag on that one because technically Kyler Murray is still on Arizona's roster.
That's true.
So I'm going to hold off. Yeah, I'm going to hold off giving Chris any credit yet. Certainly, he seems to be onto something with the fact that they chose to go with Jacoby Brissett for the remainder of the season. But, I don't like giving Chris a lot of credit. So technically, he hasn't won that one yet.
Williams, his huge out of nowhere was the Broncos are going to lead the NFL in wins. He was right. They were tied. They're a 3-way tie. So good job, Williams, there. A lot of people were on the Broncos. He just kind of went up another level there. I also had, I forgot this wrong one I had the Raiders, Chiefs, and Broncos all in the playoffs. Well, that didn't really work. And by the way, all of our Super Bowl predictions, Rod, I think Williams is the only one that still has a team alive in the Super Bowl. Your Raiders and
Ravens.
Ravens,
Packers. I was Ravens Packers, I believe.
Yeah. All right, 2 more. I had the Seahawks being the number 1 seed in the NFC. Let's go. Okay. I got that one right.
Congratulations, James.
The only thing I got right. And finally, Rod, you got one right. You said that Tyler Warren will have an unbelievably close number of passing touchdowns, the exact same as Anthony Richardson this year. Like scarily close. And you were correct. They had the exact same number of red zone touchdowns this year. 0.
Yeah. Tyler Warren did attempt to throw one at one point, though. So if Richardson wouldn't have busted his eye with a freak armband accident that I'm still not entirely sure of all of the details, he would have gotten into a game at one point, Jimmy. And I think I may have hit on that. I was really close. I appreciate you giving me credit on that.
Tyler Warren had 1 attempt for 0 touchdowns. Anthony Richardson was 1 of 2 for 9 yards, -4 yards rushing. So that was our preseason picks. We actually did better than we've done in the past. We each got one right, kind of.
We kind of if we were doing darts, right, where you can score points for the closest you get to the bullseye, right? Like we did a few of those, right? Same thing with horseshoes, where occasionally, you don't have to get a full ringer. Closest to the thing will get you some points. So we did a little bit of that, but if you were looking for exact winners, maybe we weren't the ones for you. Jimmy and I had a lot of wrong predictions there. Williams had quite a few right predictions. That's because he's the one who can handicap these games for you. He's making the plays. He's the gambler here. Jimmy and I will be happy to give you a prediction that's sure to go wrong here in just a second.
Sure.
But the one thing Jimmy and I can talk about is the broadcasters. Jimmy and I have been hosts of a podcast now here for a few years. I work as a DJ on the weekends for 97.7, right? So Jimmy and I like to think of ourselves as people who understand the art of communication. We're by no means calling ourselves experts here, but we like to think that we have a bit of an ear to try to discern why one commentator might be a little bit better than the others. And Jimmy, when you get down to this point of the year, I really like to start looking at the number one teams, right?
Mhm.
Because this is when all the networks have all of the cameras, right? Every single camera that they got available to shoot an NFL game is going to be available for these playoff games. Every spotter we got, every statistician we got, and we're having our number one crews work it, Jimmy. So I ask you this. After hearing the number one crew for all four of the networks that do football, who do you come away with as your favorite team to hear call a game?
I know it's kind of cliche, but I do think it's Aikman and Buck. I think Joe Buck is one of the best announcers, period. And Aikman doesn't care. He will just say what he's feeling. I really do like how he goes in and dissects some plays, but also more of the feel of the game as well. So I think Buck and Aikman really do show me the most because they don't take away from the game. They kind of enhance the game. They're not caricatures.
I think that's fair. I think that if you want to try to look at this under any circumstances where we're going to try to just grade people, right? And where you can't just be objectively, I like this guy over that guy. If we're going to try to grade people, I think there's only two teams that you can put up at the top. Okay. Tom Brady has been only doing this job for 2 years. So I just don't think that you could, on any way, shape, or form, say that he's part of the best crew calling a football game right now, right? So I think that puts him down at the bottom. I think that CBS, Jimmy, is starting to have a little bit of a problem. I think Jim Nantz is a sainted legend. I think he should be able to continue calling golf for as long as he'd like to. But I think maybe he's losing his fastball a little bit with games. And Tony Romo, I think the bloom is off the rose completely on Tony Romo. So I think that you have to narrow out CBS and you have to narrow out Fox. So then I think that comes down to your pick, Buck and Aikman. But my pick, Jimmy, Tirico and Collinsworth. And now what I think Tirico and Collinsworth do is a lot of what you said, familiarity with Joe and Troy, right? They did games for years together on Fox. Now they've moved over to ESPN, right? They've been together for years. They're familiar to us. Well, to me, Chris Collinsworth is at least that voice on NBC. Sure, he's had Al Michaels and now he's had Mike Tirico step in, but Chris Collinsworth has been the voice on Sunday Night Football for a long time. Little folksy, right? Like, oh, Mike, like just a little bit of that, right? So he's kind of got that John Madden energy to me. And I don't disagree with you that Joe Buck is a stone cold professional, but I think Mike Tirico runs circles around him. I think Mike Tirico is actually the best play-by-play guy out there working. I think it used to be Al Michaels. I think time has really gone by Al Michaels. I'm actually was sad to hear that he's coming back for another year next year. I think he probably should have hung it up after this year because, there's no emotion. There's no joy in Al's calls anymore. It's just completely, this is how I call him. It's down the middle. We're moving on to the next play. So, but Al used to be the best guy, right? Bob Costas was the best guy for a long time. I think it's hands down Mike Tirico who's the best guy. He can sit in a room and do the Olympics hosting. He can go in Madison Square Garden on a Tuesday night after just doing a Sunday night football game, and he can call a game for Peacock. And then he can have that. Your guy, Jimmy, the Caleb Williams play is the play that did it for me with Mike Tirico, right? Because he's scrambling around. It looks like he's about to be sacked. It looks like absolute disaster. And then from out of nowhere, he rears down, throws that ball towards the sidelines. It's caught for a touchdown, right? And Tirico was calling it as if it was going to be a disaster, caught up in real time, and then hit the right emotion and just called it unbelievably. And then what did Collinsworth do, Jimmy? Laid out for a second, and then he just laughed. He literally just laughed. He didn't say anything. He didn't step all over it anymore because Tirico had already done it, and then Collinsworth did what he was good at. So for me, Jimmy, it's the NBC crew, but I wouldn't be mad at anybody for saying the ESPN crew like you did.
I think Tirico is a national treasure. I love everything that he does. That was a great call, like you said. Collinsworth is a little bit of a caricature of himself right now, to me.
You're not wrong.
I like the more straight-focused Aikman, but I do like Collins. This was my second team. My third team was Burkhart Brady. I think Brady's getting a lot better. I really
Would
like
agree.
when Brady actually tells us what the quarterback is thinking. And, there was one where they showed him holding the ball and just kind of
That
give a
was
little bit
incredible.
more info on that. I like that. Romo was so good when he started because he knew everything that was going to happen, was calling everything. Yeah, the Nance and Romo thing, I think, is just getting a little old right now. Something needs to freshen up a bit.
Would you go extreme and do what some of the folks on Twitter are calling for and call JJ Watt up to the number one seat and then maybe try to energize Nance one last time with another new partner? Because I thought JJ Watt called a hell of a game, but I wonder if he only called a hell of a game because he was with Ian Eagle, who I also think
Who
is
is
very
amazing.
strong.
Yeah, I mean, Ian Eagle can do anything that he wants. There's a lot of good commentators out here. I mean, there really is. No, I mean, they're paying Romo way too much, so you're not going to do that. You need to have him be the number one.
So ultimately, then, Jimmy, let's land on this. Let's finish on this. What do we want from our football commentary team? We want a little bit of expertise, right? We don't want them to be too much of a caricature, right? Because we talked about how we think Romo's run a little thin. We think Collinsworth is resting a little bit too much on his laurels, right? We want him to be maybe a little bit more honest than some other guys are, right? Like we like the way that Aikman will go in on guys. What do we think it is that we want out of the play-by-play guy? Is it emotion or is it something else that we want out of the play-by-play guy?
I think it's emotion, but also letting the play happen, not having to tell everything. And I think Buck and Tirico both do a good job at that for sure. I mean, that's why they're the best. But yeah, I need to have a little bit of inflection in the voice, like you're excited this is happening.
The other thing that I think happens now with modern day announcing is before, right, you were kind of a guy in the suit. Like you literally were kind of just like, hey, let me just tell you this, and I'm going to set up for the next guy who then he's came in, right? Now you're expected to know a little bit yourself, right? Nobody's expecting Joe and Mike to break down the shell coverage, right? But you're supposed to be able to look and say, oh, okay, they're too high here. They're man to man, right? You got to, you're supposed to know a little bit more. And I think what you actually have to do these days is you have to be versed at being able to show up in a lot of different platforms. And I think that's the other way that Tirico actually comes shining through. You hear him on a radio hit. You see him sit down as a studio host. You see him interviewing Michael Jordan one time for $20 million, and they're going to chop it up across all the rest of the year, right?
Remember
Only
that was
Tirico
a thing?
Could do something. Yeah.
That was a thing at one point. I think of like Chris Fowler with the IU game when Mendoza went in for the touchdown. That was an amazing call. Amazing. Because he was like, oh, he's going, what? He was just kind of that instant reaction of, yeah, you're a fan and you just saw something amazing and it's going to be great.
I think that's awesome, Jimmy. You're right. I think there's a lot of good guys calling games. I think Kevin Burkhardt, Tom Brady's partner, is way underrated because people just talk about Tom Brady, but you're right that Brady is coming along. And like, as much as I hated the guy when he was New England's quarterback, I got to be honest, there's just a little bit of like, hey man, it's kind of cool that Tom Brady's calling this game. You know what I mean? Like I'm smart enough to understand the dude's got a boatload of Super Bowl rings, right? Like if there's anybody that has a keen expertise about the NFL game, it's clearly this guy who did it so many times over. So it's just, there's something cool about having him in the booth.
Yeah, for sure. I think that is great. And you know what? The Raiders are going to be a lot more relevant, Chris. They're going to be more relevant next year. So maybe Brady will be even better in the booth. Maybe that'll help him a little bit. Now he's not going to be depressed every time he comes to the football games.
That's a good listen to you, Jimmy. Just excellent analysis out of you there. All right, we'll give our predictions. Sure to be wrong here, Jimmy. We got two big conference championship games. We got Broncos v. Patriots. That's the first game up. That's Nance. That's Romo. That's Mile High. That's Stiddy.
Stiddy's ready.
Payton. That's Stiddy, as Sean Payton is calling him. What do you think here, Jimmy? Can they win with a backup quarterback, or do you think they're toast?
First of all, shout out to Sean Payton for coming out after he already talked to the press. He came back out and just said what happened. And I
Why do
think
you think he changed?
I think that was a great idea. What?
Why do you think he changed? Why do you think he put on that Carhartt jacket? Why do you think he couldn't just come back out in the team wear?
Because he was ready. He was ready to go home, and they're like, "Hey, by the way, we have to chat."
Do you think will we see a catalog spread of Sean Payton in various Carhartt gear now?
Exactly.
After this,
I thought that was really a cool move by him.
You're not wrong. I just
to
you know
get
me.
it,
I gotta poke fun at something.
Stiddy could be ready. Stiddy could throw 2 touchdown passes. It wouldn't actually surprise me if he did. But the stupid Patriots are going to win, aren't they? They're going to win. I've got the Patriots beating the Broncos.
I think you're right too, right? Like I think that I don't want to completely rest upon easy schedule, but you have to look at it. The
Yeah.
Patriots were a bad team last year, and that's the way the NFL works. So when you're a bad team last year, you play easier teams this year. If you look at the quarterbacks that they faced, New England had to, a chance to go against a lot of guys who you wouldn't necessarily be scared of anytime you're game planning against them. But I still think Drake May plays his ass off. I still think Mike Vrabel is a hell of an NFL coach. And hey, Tennessee, I got a bit of a rod damnation for you here. All right.
Ooh.
Don't put out a press release that says you want to hire a coach that's a Mike Vrabel type when you had the Mike Vrabel in your building 2 years ago and you fired him. All right. Like maybe that's not the best press release for your team to put out before you bring in old 8 kids Bob Saleh. All right. If you want a Mike Vrabel type, maybe don't fire Mike Vrabel, Jimmy. Am I wrong there?
Bad week for press releases, by the way. The Bills press release said that McDermott did an admiral job. So congratulations to him for that. Like, come on.
Bad week for press conferences by owners as well. Keon Coleman just completely chucked under the bus.
It was a fantastic week. Yeah, Keon Coleman sitting at home saying, "What did I do?
You
didn't catch anything.
One pass. Caught one pass in the other game.
Whatever."
I'm with
but anyway,
you, Jimmy.
Yeah,
I think Patriots roll here. I don't know about roll actually because I'm not sure New England's that good, and I think Denver's defense is good enough to keep them in the game. But I think ultimately New England comes out on top here.
I think last week was Drake May's. This is a shitty game, and you're not going to play well. And the weather was horrible. The weather, I think, in Denver. I think Denver's the only place in the United States that's supposed to be okay this weekend. Apparently, we're getting anywhere literally between 6 and 25 inches of snow in Kentucky, and this is Kentucky, Rod. We don't know what snow is. So I'm excited. Let me tell you, the Dollar Generals, they were packed today.
You know what is weird about that, Jim, is from what I hear, we're only going to get the outside recesses of it, right? So instead of a snow system dumping all over us here in the South Bend, Mishawaka region, it's going to lose a lot of its steam by the time it gets to us. Now, we're still looking at about a foot of snow, but,
I was going to say the lake effect, though, from the north is coming down. So you'll get that.
Hush your mouth. Hush your mouth. Don't you make any lake effect come in here. We got a night game on Sunday. Well, Sunday night-ish, a little earlier than the regular Sunday night slot. But we got it on Fox. It's Tom Brady calling an NFC championship game between the Seahawks and the Rams. It's an NFC West showdown, Jimmy, or is it the NFC championship game? Which one is it?
It's both. And unfortunately, the Rams are in this position and not another team that I would be a lot more excited about.
Do you want to do that now? Do you want to talk Bears now, or did you want to just do our prediction and then we can talk a little Bears?
We'll talk prediction, and we can talk Bears after that. Sam Darnold has played decently in the playoffs, Rod.
He has?
That scares me. That scares me right now. It's a home game. It's tough to beat a team twice. But I do have the Seahawks winning. I've got Seahawks Patriots in a rematch in the Super Bowl.
Rematch of Seahawks Patriots. I like it. Richard Sherman will probably be interviewed quite a few times about a certain play. Marshawn Lynch might be interviewed about a certain play a few times. Pete Carroll, who has a little more time on his hands these days, he might even be interviewed about a certain play. But Jimmy, I look at this one way, and I don't think you're going to be that surprised by this because it tends to be an angle that I have quite often on the podcast here. If you give me the 4 quarterbacks left, I got to take the Rams. I got to take the Rams because I think Matthew Stafford is clearly the best quarterback. He's won a Super Bowl before. He's right there in the running for MVP this year. I am surprised by that. Like, it could be one of my biggest surprises in the NFL because you could have convinced me at the beginning of the year that we would see Stafford for 4 to 5 games, and then we'd have Garoppolo
or none.
That Rams offense. Yeah, exactly. After what we heard at the beginning of the year. So for him to come out and to play this well, and to quite frankly play as tough as he has, right? Like he's gotten beat up a few times, right? Like that Rams offensive line isn't great. He's got to take a few hits sometimes, and he stands in there. And I just got to go with the Rams. I can't in good conscience bet Sam Darnold. I can't bet against Matthew Stafford. And so I think we're going to see Rams v. Patriots in the Super Bowl, which also might be a rematch because the Patriots went so often. Did they ever take on the Rams?
Yeah, probably. And, I know Chris isn't on here. We kind of made the joke about the horse thing. It's kind of horse related. He's not on here because the Patriots won, and he's so angry that he threw his tube TV against the wall. That's how he connects the internet. It's a whole thing he did. So, yeah. Do you think Drake May should be the MVP or Matt Stafford? I really think Drake May should probably be the MVP.
I think Drake May should probably be the MVP, but if I was a voter, Jimmy, I'd give it to Matt Stafford.
Just for the longevity. This is
which I know is wrong, right? Like that's
yeah,
why I
no,
said it the way that I
completely
said
wrong,
it.
Mr. Jokic hater from a couple
Yeah,
years ago.
I know it's completely the wrong move, but I just like Drake May's got plenty of time, right? Like like just give it to old Matty Stafford. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to reward Drake May for having not necessarily a hard path in front of him, right? Because if you look at his stats, he's not, these aren't Mahomes stats, these aren't like Kurt Warner stats. You know what I mean? Like he's not rewriting the record books with his stats other than his efficiency, right? Which nobody gives a crap about. So I would give it to Stafford, but Drake May probably does deserve to be the MVP.
Yeah, and I think that, Vrabel's also coach of the year as well. I mean, that's amazing doing what he did. But do you really want to be coach of the year, though, Rod? Because the last 5 coaches of the year have been fired. So I don't know if you really want that.
You know what? I think that's a great point by you. And so then let's transition to talking about your Bears here for a minute or two before we go to the round ball. Your guy Ben Johnson probably not going to win Coach of the Year.
Fine with me. Thank goodness.
I was going to say you must be excited about that. But speaking of excited, I made this joke on the radio today, Jimmy, and it's the Pink Floyd song, and it's called "Happiest Day of Our Lives" / Another Brick in the Wall, right? And that's how I think you Bear fans should look at the game last week. It's not the happiest day of your life because you didn't win, but it's another brick in the wall of the solid foundation of the Bears' future. You finally have a coach that is not a joke. You finally have a coach that fully understands how to game plan. You finally have a coach that fully understands how to have a disciplined run game. And Jimmy, it seems like you have a quarterback. Caleb Williams, when he has to make the throw, Jimmy, I am completely confident he'll make the throw. Now, numerous other points in the game where it's not nut cutting time, he could do any number of things. But when it gets down to that moment where he's got to make the throw, Jimmy, I got confidence in him. So I think you got to be a tad bit excited about where your Bears are headed, even though they lost.
Learning is something I love, and I love to see it. Caleb Williams learned so much this year from training camp, which training camp, you're talking to a guy who listens to all the CHGO, training camp, YouTube, all that, everything. He was bad because he didn't know how to play quarterback, because he never had to play quarterback. He had to play athlete. And then last year, we're not talking about that anymore. So Ben Johnson comes in and says, if you really want to learn, you need to work hard. And he did. And he worked his ass off. And you could see the progression going and going and going. Now, there's some things that he needs to work on, no question. And he said it in his press conference. He needs to work on accuracy. He needs to work on his footwork a little bit. I thought he held the ball too long sometimes. I thought he should have ran more. He ran a little bit more last year than this year. It was actually a lot closer than you think. It's only like 4 or 5 different runs. But there is so much that he's improved this year than another year with Ben Johnson in this offense. And really everybody's coming back. Even DJ Moore should probably come back because, well, first of all, I think he was a warrior this year. And just because he didn't catch one ball, sorry. Everyone should be coming back, and that offense should be even bigger next year. And I love that.
Yeah, I would be excited if I was a Bears fan. I am a bit of a Bears fan. I'm not excited as a Colts fan. It's just the difference in the way seasons can end. You know what I mean? Like you'd never want to end on a loss in the playoffs because you'd ultimately like to just roll through the playoffs and get that Super Bowl championship. But ending the way the Bears did has to have you excited, Bear fans, moving forward. Too bad Williams doesn't get his chance to have a take here. And Corey Nance, I know you're probably watching somewhere or you're going to be checking in later. You're wrong about Caleb Williams. It pains me, Nance, to have to tell you that you're wrong about something. It doesn't bring me any joy whatsoever to be on the other side of an argument from you, Corey Nance. But you're wrong about Caleb Williams, my friend. He looks like he's the truth.
Oh, he is. He's the quarterback. And if right now, if we did the draft over again, they would pick Caleb Williams first over Drake May. They would. I think.
You know what? And like in the Carolina Panthers have to just be kicking themselves because they just gave that pick to the Bears and they gave him DJ Moore. They still have to be kicking themselves about that, but we don't want to rehash that. What we want to do, Jimmy, is talk about a little bit of round ball.
Of
course. I got one question for you, Jimmy. If you allow me to start, you normally take the lead on these NBA questions, but I got one for you if you'd allow me to start.
Of course.
How am I to feel about the fact that the Pacers lost to the Celtics when I didn't attend? Or when I did attend, excuse me.
Yes.
But then the next time they play one another, the Pacers absolutely don't show up and get walloped by the Celtics. How am I to feel about this, Jim?
You're just to feel that the Celtics let their guard down in the game that you saw, and then they said this is not happening again in the game you didn't see. You also were missing one or two players, I think, in that game as well. But it's one of those things where you just let your guard down a little bit and you lose to a team and you're like, well, that's not going to happen because they have 10 wins on the season. We can't let that happen again. And that's it. So nothing personal. I know it kind of ruined a otherwise fantastic evening with your boys, but don't worry. Your Celtics, hey, Mr. Patriots type fan over here who's kind of complaining about stuff. Oh, the Boston Celtics are only in second place with 27 wins.
Did you watch any of them versus the Pistons by chance? Did you catch any of that game? That was a good game.
I did not. I was not able to catch any of that game, but yes, I heard that was a very good game. Yes.
All right, Jimmy. That was my question for you. Of course, it was Celtics related. What do you got for us as we run a little fast break here?
True or false, Rod? The Philadelphia 76ers have their best chance to win an NBA championship in the last 10 years.
Wow. I like the framing of that question. I'm going to say no for two reasons. Okay. I think that the Western Conference is too tough for them to be able to win, right? And you have to factor that in their path to a championship. And I think that the team with Embiid and healthier knees and a healthier back had a bit higher of a ceiling than this team, right? But I see where you're going. This team is playing above where we thought they'd be. This team is getting Embiid and Paul George on the court at the same time. This team is getting really, really good play out of VJ Edgecombe, and Tyrese Maxey is starting in the All-Star game. So there's no juggernaut on the East, so I see where you're going at, Jimmy, but my answer is still no because of how good the West is and the fact that Embiid and Paul George are a tad bit diminished.
I think the Embiid diminishment is canceled out by the Edgecombe and Maxey, whatever you want to call it, rise.
There you go.
I'm really excited to see what happens. Again, you have to cross your fingers with Embiid, but you kind of always had to cross your fingers with Embiid, even back when he and Ben Simmons were going to be the next thing in the process and all that. I've been very fascinated by their play. I really enjoyed that.
I'm going to relate this to my Celtics, Jimmy. They scare me. I think the Celtics are going to keep Anthony Simons, who's not a great defender, but he is quick. And he does have a little bit of size to him. I think they're going to keep that guy because they know they got to have some guys who are going to be running around with Maxey and Edgecombe. Because every time the Sixers and the Celtics match up, it's a track meet, and the Sixers win. Okay, the Sixers absolutely win that track meet because the Celtics can match up on the wing, right?
Mm-hmm.
JT and JB are big guys, but they can't match up with those water bugs, Maxey and Edgecombe, just running. And Peyton Pritchard, as much as I love the guy, quickness ain't necessarily his strong suit.
So the Knicks are kind of in a little pickle right now. I don't think they like the coach. I don't think they like themselves. True or false, Rod? The Knicks are going to make a dumb Karl Anthony Towns trade.
I think that's true. I really do. I think that's true. I think that James Dolan is the kind of guy that is going to say to himself, wait a minute. I gave away 5 picks for this Mikal Bridges guy. We're not trading him. This other guy, we gave away a few picks, but we gave away Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo, and it was a little more like, okay. And I don't know. I don't know what you do if you're the Knicks here, Jimmy. Like, your owner's going on the radio saying we better win the championship. He doesn't normally do interviews, and he does that. You're firing Tom Thibodeau, who we all make jokes about. You better be ready to have your legs fall off when you're playing with Tom Thibodeau. But they had a lot of success in New York under Tom Thibodeau. And does it seem, Jimmy, that maybe some teams need a grinder, a disciplinarian, a guy who's a psycho and going to keep you on your game? And when a guy like Mike Brown, who just expects everybody to be an adult and do what they're supposed to, comes in, maybe guys aren't going to do what they're supposed to. Don't you think that that's all we can point to that's going on with the Knicks, right?
How funny is it that's kind of a negative? The guy who comes in just expects professionals to be professional. There's no way they're going to fire Mike Brown. There's no way that's going to happen before the season's out. And I say before the season's out because if they don't win, I think there's a good chance they fire him after the season.
Well, there's no doubt. Mike Brown's been fired after 1 year in almost 1 year in Sacramento. I guess he made it a little bit longer that second year. Got fired like 7 games into a coaching career in Los Angeles. We all forget about that.
Yeah.
Got fired in Cleveland twice. I think we all forget about that every once in a while that he coached the Cavs twice, right? I'm not trying to come down on the guy. I think clearly
No, I think he's a good coach. Good, but
he's a good NBA mind. You don't get that many chances if you're not a good NBA mind, but I just think that I look again, I'm bringing it Celtics. Like, we got to get me a Celtic swear jar. But a guy like Joe Mazzulla is similar to Tibbs, right? He's an absolute psycho. He's going to stay on you. He's not going to let you play if you don't do the right rotations on defense. You know what I mean? He's going to sit your ass down. He's going to do all of those things. And if you're late to a meeting, you're not going to play, right? And like, it just kind of seems that Mike Brown's like, hey, guys, come on, man. Can't everybody get along? And all the Knicks are like, nah, screw that.
No, we hate this. We hate these people.
Cat sucks. Yeah. I'm sick of cleaning up for his ass on defense. Like, it kind of feels like that's what's going on in New York, right? I mean, I don't have any inside sources, Jimmy, but from the outside, that's what it seems to me.
And then finally, before we get to your anger, Ja Morant has played the past 2 games and scored more than 20 points in both games. He mentioned that he has a logo tattooed on his back, and he's very, very committed to the Grizzlies. Is Ja just smart and saying, hey, nobody wants me, I'm going to actually play and show what I can do now instead of pout? There's like 5 questions here, Rod, I'm sorry. Should Jonathan Kuminga take a page from Ja Morant's book?
I think Jonathan Kuminga should take a lot of pages from a lot of different books, because I think if you look at every decision this guy has made,
except for the ones he's asking people for. Yeah.
It's clearly been the wrong one made by Mr. Kuminga. I think that Ja definitely sees the writing on the wall that there's not a whole lot of teams out there that are beating down the door for him. But I think what he's actually doing here, Jimmy, is you gotta, when you're in a battle, right? The great Sun Tzu said this, that you got to look around and you got to use whatever is at your disposal to your advantage, right? And the only thing that Ja has at his disposal right now is the city of Memphis loves that guy. They absolutely love that guy. It's not every time or all the time that a superstar as electric as him rolls into a market as small as Memphis. So I think he's doubling down on the one thing that he has working for him, and that nobody in Memphis wants to see him go. So I think that's in his favor, but I could still see a trade. I really could. I could still see the Grizzlies saying to themselves, you know what? Our fans are going to be mad, but we're backing this coach. I don't know why they're backing this coach, but it seems like they're backing this coach because Ja doesn't like him. Jaren Jackson doesn't like him. They already shipped Desmond Bane out of town. I think there's still could be a world where the Grizzlies say to themselves, you know what? We're cutting bait before this all goes way wrong. We're trading Ja. We're trading Jaren Jackson. It probably won't happen, but I could see
it. That some organization backs a coach. The NBA coaching cycle is ridiculous. Every year there's like 10 coaches that are fired. There's no just stick with somebody for a change, please. I also see a trade coming. I see, do the Bucks make a trade just to see what happens?
There's no doubt the Bucks are making a trade. How desperate do they get, and who is willing to trade the Bucks something is the only question. They're definitely trading something for something.
Well, and the Bucks don't have their first round pick till 2033. I think they can trade now. Great. Awesome. I don't know, but I do know something, Rod. You tend to get a little perturbed.
We have to do something about this situation. The momentum is dying. I don't understand no more distractions, but I do believe we should all follow one path in life. Hubris and ego and pride. Sorry, all that was a complete lie. All right. I guess I got to start here and say that I want nothing more than to not care about the stupid All-Star game, okay? I really do. I want nothing more than to not care about the stupid All-Star game, okay? Because I, in my heart of hearts, believe more in the All-NBA that comes out at the end of the season. That, to me, is more of a true marker for historical papers of who is great in a season than All-Star ever was, okay? But that being said, if we're going to do All-Star, can we please just come up with some better way to do it? And I'm not even going to talk about the stupid USA versus the world, 3 different team round robin. Everybody grab the different colored skibby from over in the corner, and we're going to run up and down and play full court basketball like we're Russ Teal at Plymouth High School gym class here, Jimmy. I'm not even talking about that. All right. What I'm talking about is why in the world are we giving NBA players the authority to vote guys into the All-Star game when they consistently show year after year that they don't take it seriously, they have no idea what they're talking about, and they hold grudges against people? Bronny James does not deserve a single All-Star vote, and he was voted as an All-Star starter by numerous people. You can look down the ballots of all the NBA players, and there are many, many completely terrible votes just like that. And then you can also see things like Denny Avdia and Luka Doncic and Alperen Şengün ranking way lower in the players' votes for Western Conference All-Stars than they should have, proving that players just have a bias against guys that they don't like. I don't know what the answer is. I wish that All-Star wasn't a thing that was debated about for weeks upon weeks, but since it is, we got to do something better than giving the players any kind of say because they don't take it seriously.
Maybe we form a commission that goes over the number of all-star players, and they vote them, and then maybe we expand the number of all-stars so it keeps getting bigger and bigger so you can have more all-stars, Rod.
Exactly. That's because that's what we're going to have this year, Jimmy. If they get to the point where we don't have 8 international players or 16 American players to fill out the 2 rosters, they're just going to name more all-stars. And I got a quick guess for you, Jimmy, who the first American Adam Silver names to the All-Star game is if they need one.
Who would that be, Rod?
He plays on the West Coast, Jimmy.
Okay.
I think
Is he older?
I think he's a little bit older. Yeah. I think he
Okay.
wears a 2-digit number. That's the same number as another NBA great. I think his home jersey is sometimes gold.
Oh, I was thinking Mac McClung. I'm sorry. Maybe.
Look at you. Look at you. You're trying to get me going. I just did Rod Divination, Jimmy. Don't bring up Mac McClung now.
You know, this year especially, why didn't they just say, hey, we're going to name the All-Star team? That's what it's going to be because we have this weird, we want to make it more competitive. Why not just do that?
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. I love that we had the All-Star game in Indy. I love that I got down and we got to hang out at Dax's house for a little bit and see some of that stuff. But the All-Star weekend has just increasingly become more and more of a joke, and it's kind of a bummer.
I got in a fight with Jackson. Because, hey, Dad, did you see the All-Star starters? I'm like, yeah, but they're really not going to start with each other. What are you talking about? They're the starters. Yeah, I know, but it's going to be different. What are you talking about? So it was a whole thing.
Shout out to Jackson. That guy's so old school.
He kind of is, Rod. It's weird, but yeah, I know that the NBA has a lot of stories going on, but also the WWE has a lot of stories going on, including, well, let's just talk about it. It's the biggest story. Our boy.
Yeah.
Our boy.
I knew it.
Tommaso Ciampa is gone from the WWE. His contract was not renewed. They did not come up to an agreement. This is real. I'm assuming. Who the hell knows anymore? He did send out an Instagram post thanking everybody and putting his booking information there.
The atypical exit.
Yes. Tommaso Ciampa really kind of started the Yeah We Know podcast next revision when you came on, when you thought his name was Ciampa. And I will never forget that. I love it. And
I did think that was his name.
You know, he is someone who I saw wrestle in NXT and Indy with Johnny Gargano against FTR, the Revival. And just my eyes were just blown out by that matchup. Seeing him and Gargano and NXT going after each other, the hatred and the vitriol was amazing. And I that is one thing I wish they would have been able to do on the main roster, to see that feud. They tried a little bit, but they never really went that far. DIY, someone, a team that didn't get over as much as I wanted them to on the main roster, mostly just because the tag teams in the main roster, they don't do that with them. But it sucks that somebody who you really liked on your TV's gone, but I think he'll do okay, Rod.
Yeah, the guy's clearly a talented professional wrestler, right? The guy, as you said, intensity, right? There's very few people, in my opinion, these days that can sell the intensity of a match, that can sell the brutality of a match. And Champa is definitely somebody that can do that. So I think he's going to do very, very well on the indie scene where that tends to be a little more of how you make the matches a spectacle, right? Because we have a lot smaller venues, we have a lot smaller budgets to work with. So a lot of that stuff will serve him well on the indie scene that he is about to be booked in. But what this made me think of, Jimmy, is that like it just made me think of, and this is kind of a deep thing we're getting in here, right? But
Let's
it's
go.
the conundrum of professional wrestling itself, right? Because I couldn't help but think of the Champa stuff coming out, right? I couldn't help but think of Unreal coming out and the discourse that was on X about all of the LA Knight stuff that was revealed through Unreal, right?
Yeah.
The discourse that came out about the R Truth stuff that was revealed on Unreal, right? And so it just brings up that age old question. Can any wrestler who gets the right amount of backing from the WWE be a main eventer, right? Or is there truly something that these guys don't have that the men in charge see that they don't have and are making the right calls? I'm not smart enough, Jimmy. I know that you'll probably tell me that you're not, but you've been in this game a lot longer than I have. Is a guy like Chomp and a guy like LA Knight just a victim of circumstance, or are they lacking something?
Well, let's look at a couple of recent stories. We have Roman Reigns was someone who the fans were behind a ton. He and Batista were the last two people in the Royal Rumble, and this is when Reigns was coming up in the Shield and all that. But he was starting to break out. Every single person in that entire arena wanted Roman Reigns to throw Batista out and win, and then Batista threw him out, and the rest is history with that. But then Vince McMahon shoved Roman Reigns down everyone's throats and said, no, he is our next guy. He's going to do it. And the fans didn't like him. He wasn't over, good or bad. Eventually, though, he did get over. Was it by himself? Was it because Vince McMahon pushed him? Definitely a combination of the two. But that was a longer it was a very long process to get that to where the fans loved him, then hated him, but were supposed to hate him, and now love him again. Austin Theory is someone who faced Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania, and people didn't care. And he went away, and he did some vignettes here. He did some matches. He had the tag team going with Waller. That's fine. But now they're trying it again. Trying to get him over again. Bald-headed Theory. It's not really working yet. So if the WWE wants to, they can try to force someone down and make them a superstar. But the person has to have it. Look at Penta, for example, Rod. WWE said Penta's coming. Great entrance. But Penta's personality has put him over the top. And people love him. And like Paul Heyman said in Unreal, you got something in Penta. You go to LA Knight, who has developed his persona and then was stuck with a really bad gimmick because that is your ceiling. You are going to be a lower mid-card guy that talks a little bit. You're not even going to be a wrestler on the main roster, Rod. We don't remember that. Max Dupree was not a wrestler.
That's true.
And then you become yourself and you get over. One of the things that I know Dave Meltzer says a lot, and I can't remember who he got it from, but the only way to see if someone can get over is if they get over. And LA Knight has gotten over, and they could put the rocket to him, but they haven't yet for whatever reason. So I think the answer to your question is ambiguous. It really is.
Yeah. And I think that in and of itself, Jim, is what I find so fascinating about the business now, right? And it's like, it's the basis of a little fun and games between you, me, and Chris, right? But it really is the difference in how we look at the business, right? I'd like to think I've got a little bit of Chris in me still, right? Like I can absolutely still get worked up and like, oh man, and that makes me so mad and I want my guy to win. But I've got an awful lot of, well, man, I know this is all for a show. why did they think that that was better than this? You know what I mean? What is this actually? You know, I mean, I really try to break all of that stuff down. So I find it fascinating that way too. But I then land on a LA Knight, right? And you said it yourself. He couldn't be any more over, but yet for some reason, they just only let him get to a point, right? And then I also find that fascinating because I am a guy who has to get to the bottom of something. So then I'm like, okay, what's the reason? Is it as simple as interpersonal relationships in the locker room?
Could be.
Is it as simple as Triple H just likes another guy? Is it as simple as there's money involved where we got to keep putting over Cody, we got to keep putting over CM Punk because they're making more money than what LA Knight makes? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, but it fascinates me.
Yeah, it is fascinating, and you don't know the behind the scenes, what's happening. And by the way, WWE Unreal, it's all a work, okay? Everything in that show is
Has
meant
to
to.
be.
It is. Don't. It's not. No. It's calm down, everybody. It's there are aspects of it that are real. I mean, they do sit around that table and they talk, okay? But all those whiteboards in the back, I'm sure there's some stuff on there that was just put up there. You know what I mean?
Right.
The LA Knight demeaning to him, that was kind of weird. I haven't seen the whole thing. I've just seen the clips of it, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
It's that clip I love for two reasons. A, because people have it wrong. They think that Triple H was telling LA Knight that was what was going to happen before the match, and that actually happened after the match. But why I still love it is you could see in LA Knight's face, right? Like you could see it in LA Knight's face, and I love the cameraman for being like, I know Triple H is Triple H, and he's the boss, and he's talking right now, but I'm going to zoom in on LA Knight's face because you could see LA Knight just like, son of a bitch. That belt's never going to be around my waist.
Yeah.
I'm never going to be able to stand up at the top of the turnbuckle and hold that thing up and be the winner at the end of a pay-per-view that matters. It's just never going to happen for me. And you could just see it in his eyes.
Heck,
he's like, hey, I'm still highly paid, still have a great life, still get to travel around and people adore me and I get some money from Slim Jim, but I'm never going to be WWE champ.
Speaking of pay-per-views or premium live events, Rod, this is why you're the best in the business. We did have Netflix released its international numbers. Now, please remember, international numbers only. They weren't on Netflix, so everyone relax. But these are the numbers for all the international premium live event viewership numbers, and I find it pretty interesting. The Royal Rumble was number one overall with 3.2 million people watching that. And that is why it was my pay-per-view of the year, premium live event of the year, because it really was a magical evening. It had some really good matches, but it does have the gimmicks of the Royal Rumble where anything can happen as far as new people coming in.
Real quick, Jimmy, that we're on the Royal Rumble, I've been meaning to ask you this. Do you think the fact that it is in Saudi Arabia will hurt the surprise entrance, right? Because it's going to be a little more money, a little harder for somebody to get over to Saudi Arabia to all of a sudden appear in the Rumble than anywhere in the States.
I didn't think of it that way. I thought you were going to ask, because it's going to be earlier in the morning. Yeah, I've gone back and forth. I don't know if Jericho's going to be in the Rumble. I don't know where we're going to go with that.
Exactly. That was my thought exactly.
Unless he goes over now and just stays there for a month, right? Or I guess 3 weeks.
I did think, though, that like the secrecy factor, right? Like they're going to have no problem trying to help the WWE keep a secret over there, right? I mean, they are big on keeping things from people as far as things, so I did think of it that way. But I was also just like, man, that's a big time commitment to get over to Saudi Arabia for like just 2 days to pop into the Rumble for like a spot where you just get tossed out after 45 seconds. You know what I mean? I don't mean Jericho, but I mean for like a Michelle McCool or a Booker T or, we always kind of get one of those. It just seems like an awful lot more trouble to go to.
It does seem like a lot more trouble to go to. I'm fascinated by the Rumble because they really haven't talked about it. Cody Rhodes obviously just mentioned that he was going to be in the Rumble. He better not win the Rumble for the third year in a row, but we'll see what happens there. Evolution at 900,000 was the least watched pay-per-view and one of the better ones in my opinion. Well, but you've got to, but look at the context though. That was they had a Saturday night's main event, they had an NXT show, and they had Evolution all in the same weekend. So that was
They probably did overbook. But it does bum you out that the one pay-per-view that is the clear shining, hey, we got the least amount of viewers was the female-led pay-per-view. You're right that there's extenuating circumstances, but it is a bit of a bummer.
It is. WrestleMania having 2.5 and 2.9 million for night 1 and night 2. I thought WrestleMania was down this year as far as quality. There were
Totally
a couple
agree.
great matches, but overall it was down in quality. I think that WrestlePalooza was a little interesting there because I thought that was
Surprised.
going to be a lot bigger than 1.9. This is international again. We don't know what the Peacock numbers
That
were,
was
but I
such a
thought it was
bad show, though, too. That was
it was
such
a
a bad
very
show.
bad show. So I don't think
It
you're
was
going to
well
get some
hyped, though.
rewatches. Yeah.
It was well hyped because it was the first ESPN show, right? So I mean, even though they didn't have like the traditional run up time, they hyped the crap out of it in that like 2 week period where we heard about it.
Yeah, so I just thought that those are some interesting numbers to look at and see where we are. They're not quite 30 million as the college football championship did, but WWE is doing just fine right now. Their ticket prices are higher than ever because they can sell them.
Yeah. I got to give them credit though, Jim, on one thing, and I bet you'll be surprised by this answer. The fact that they got over 2.5 million viewers for each night of WrestleMania surprises me that they didn't split up the Rumble this year. That we haven't already gotten to the Rumble being split as well.
There's so much wrestling, going on. Do we really need?
But you know it's coming.
But then again, we have a lot of these premium live events have 4 matches or 5 matches instead of 7, 8 matches.
Mm-hmm. And the Rumble itself is already set up perfectly. We've talked about it many times before. One night ends with the female Rumble. One night ends with the male Rumble.
Pretty simple, and even you can do this too. You can have all the male matches on one show, all the female on another too. Why not try something different?
Yeah, call it
still gonna sell
Rumble
out.
Evolution. Call it Rumble Evolution. One night's Rumble, the next night's Rumble Evolution. Done. Look at what we just did for the WWE, Jimmy.
I think we did, and they're going to
They're
get.
having
They would get 60,000 for both. They would. There's
they
no
would.
question.
And
Because sometimes the women's matches are better. A lot of times they are.
There's a stinking live event this weekend, is there not?
Yes, we're going to talk about Saturday Night's Main Event this weekend, Rod, because,
Goodness,
a lot going on. I do want to talk about a couple quick things. AJ Styles, Gunther.
Love it, but now I don't.
They're at the Royal Rumble. So this is what you've done. Either AJ Styles wrestles at the Rumble and loses, and he's done, which would be very sad and probably it's one of those that this is wrestling. Yeah, I know. Calm down. It's just a story, right? But I would be upset. That would kind of suck. I love AJ Styles, right?
What if they're trying to get him out of the way before WrestleMania, though, Jim?
Well, but if you beat Gunther, then what has this all been for? Gunther just beat John Cena. He's going to probably face Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. He's got to beat AJ Styles, and I do not. Oh, does Brock Lesnar come out and cost Gunther the match?
That's all Lesnar does, is he just comes out of nowhere and just costs somebody a match for no reason and doesn't say anything. Like, that's really all he's done for his last...
I've had it with these DQ finishes and stuff, I don't like it. But I could see that. I could see that happening because there's no way they're going to have AJ Styles retire in the first month of the year.
I'm not willing to say that. I completely agree with you, but I'm not willing to say that. I'm just not willing to say that. Like, I think that they could absolutely have AJ Styles retire and then do some stupid thing around SummerSlam where he comes back in like a shroud or whatever, right? I mean, they love putting dudes in hoodies with the face mask on, and then just be like, oh, AJ Styles is back. Sorry, I don't want Gunther to be able to retire me. And then we'll just, I'm mad. I'm mad because I thought what we could do is we could just build these guys, right? I thought that, like, you don't have to keep paying it off after paying it off, right? Like, you can just have these guys keep running into one another, right? They can have one match, have it schmaz as much as you and I hate schmaz, but then we don't have to immediately feed back into the, he can get into a thing with Brock Lesnar. AJ can get sidetracked by something else, right? But you just keep boiling it and you still get to Gunther, the retirement man, the new legend killer, whatever thing we're doing with him. You could still get there with him and AJ, but it doesn't have to be in January. I'm just so disappointed that they went there. Frankly, Jimmy, I get that if he says no to the match, it makes him look weak, and that's just not what we're trying to do in professional wrestling. But that would have been a much cooler storyline to me if AJ would have been like, nope, I love this too much. I don't want to put my career on the line. We'll wait. That would have been fine to me, but they never would have done that in a million years.
El Grande Americano, Georgia. I don't know. Maybe he could be that. Big AJ on the side, I don't know.
I like it.
Speaking of El Grande Americano, Javon Evans got a concussion. They had to stop the match on Raw. That was sudden and very unfortunate for him, but El Grande Americano won, of course.
Should I feel bad? because like I literally said when we were talking about Javon Evans that we got to get everything out of him we can quickly because his kind of, and then so I don't know if I should feel responsible here, Jim.
It's your fault. There's no question about it. And then finally, CM Punk and Finn Balor had a hell of a match. Finn Balor is a good guy. I don't understand how hard this is. Make him a good guy. He's terrific by himself. He's kind of in the background in the Judgment Day. Just make him a good guy, Rod, please.
Is he simply not a good guy, Jim, because he's all that's propping up the Judgment Day? Is that all that's going on here? Because Liv, I don't know what's going on with Liv. Nobody cares about Raquel Rodriguez. Is JD McDonough hurt again? Is he being released? I haven't seen JD McDonough in a while.
He got hurt.
Dom is always Dom. You know what I mean? So like he's going to be his own gravity. Like I kind of feel like AJ Styles is just being stuck to the Judgment Day because WWE doesn't know what to do with the rest of Judgment Day, and Judgment Day completely dissolves if Finn's not around. But you're right. The Prince character, the Demon character, Demonito, whatever you want to bring out for Finn Balor, bring it on, because that was awesome. I love seeing well wrestled wrestling matches like that. And Jimmy, I'm glad Chris isn't here to crap all over this. We got to give CM Punk a ton of flowers right now. He is absolutely smoking, killing every in-ring promo, bringing guys up, wrestling great matches, looking like $1 million carrying the belt, moving merch. I mean, kudos to CM Punk, man. I was against the guy, but I have come around and see the brilliance. I don't know if I want to call him the best in the world. I still think that's a little much for me, but I got a lot more respect for him.
Well, he's a world champ, Rod, so he's got to be the best in the world, right? We have a Saturday night's main event. It's on Peacock for those of you who still subscribe to Peacock, not on NBC for whatever reason. I think you and I need to have, maybe we bring on Pete to talk about TV and why you're putting everything on your app instead of your actual network. It just fascinates me that you just do both. Why not?
I totally.
But anyway,
what's NBC going to have on Saturday night before SNL? Nothing.
Yeah.
Put on the Saturday night
or any of these cool shows they have. Put it on the network. Why not?
I'll tell you something. Speaking of NBC, Stumble, Jim, I'm telling you, check out Stumble, the 30-minute cheerleading comedy. Pretty funny.
Okay. We have the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions Rhea Ripley and Io Sky versus Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez. You love the Rhea and Io tag team, Rod. I know that. What are your thoughts?
Blah. That's my thoughts about this. Blah. All over the place. Okay, Liv Morgan's going to be tag team champion with somebody else from the Judgment Day again. Cool. Rhea and Io are probably going to have something that happens where they're going to question one another. Did you do that to me? Did you do that to me? And then they're going to almost look like they're going to square off. Or stupid Asuka or Kyrie's going to come in and ruin this match. Or stupid Nia and Lash Legend are going to come in and ruin this match. And all of it's going to anger me. There's not going to be any possible scenario how this match ends where I care about it or I'm not angry. So
no, you're going to care about it. You're just going to be angry no matter what. That's the thing.
Because Charlotte and Liv aren't involved. That's the other reason why I hate it. So like, there's just 5 different ways from Sunday why I hate this match.
So who do you think's going to win? Who's going to go away with the title, should I say?
Rhea and Io. They're not ready to break them up yet.
I think so. I think it's Rhea and Io. There's only 3 matches on this card, by the way, so far. So we'll see what's going on. In a match, I thought
the time then.
Well, we have the 4-way number 1 contenders match, but we also have Cody Rhodes and Jacob Fatu are going against each other. This is a so much bigger match than Saturday night's main event. At least put it on Raw, right? This is so much bigger than Saturday night's main event.
Yeah, you're going to have to try to catch me up here, Jim, as to why a guy like Fatu, who you want to build, who had an extreme response when he was first coming around, seemed like he was really garnering a following, got hurt. Unfortunate, right? None of us want that. But he doesn't come back and get a run with Shinsuke or with El Grande Americano, or he comes right back to fighting Cody Rhodes. I don't understand. I just don't understand because Cody's the golden
top. No, they're putting him to the top. He's winning this match, Rod. He's
beating Cody?
Win. Yes. Okay. Drew McIntyre's going to interfere, but he will beat Cody Rhodes. Yeah, of course.
Why is Drew McIntyre going to interfere? Why? Why does Drew
need to interfere? Because he wants to rub it in more. He wants to keep rubbing it in, Rod.
Man. Okay, fine. He is a heel. So I'm okay. Then let me ask you this. Does this finish where Cody loses to Fatu and Drew screws him over, is this taking Cody closer to a heel? Do you think we're living in a world where Cody heel turn leads into Mania?
Man, I don't know. I don't, because we got to figure out who he's facing at Mania. We're not
That's
sure
what
yet.
I'm saying.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. I got zero idea right now. Like,
because I don't want it to be Cody and Drew at Mania. I don't. We've seen it enough.
Or Cody Roman again.
Yeah, we don't need that either. Like Cody Fatu at Mania would be pretty cool.
That's what I mean. We just gave it away on Saturday night's main event. That's why I think Sammy, Jimmy. I think there could be Sammy somehow working into a WrestleMania main event here.
Well, let's talk about it. At the Royal Rumble, Drew McIntyre will face either Randy Orton, Trick Williams, Damian Priest, or Sami Zayn, who have a four-way for the number one contender for the championship. I like the tournament they did. They actually did a tournament, which is good. They had some decent matches there.
But I've talked about this before. Why do we do a tournament and then give it up and go into a fatal four-way? Don't you hate
instead
a fatal
of doing
four-way?
A final four and then yeah.
Don't you hate a fatal four-way? It's like one of my least favorite matches.
I'm not huge on the fatal four-way. On a three-way dance is kind of cool when you actually have to pin both people. So you got three people, you pin one, and then you have to have another one. But WWE hasn't, I don't think, ever done that. The fatal four-way is just an excuse to have guys lay down for a while and have two guys wrestle and then another guy come in and they lay down and da-da-da. I think this is big for Trick Williams to see how he can work with some bigger guys.
Though, can he?
He's not going to. No. Sami Zayn, I think, is actually going to win. This is also this is in Canada, I think. This is in Montreal.
But don't you think that's more the reason why he won't win?
New era, buddy. This is the time that you have him go over in Montreal. They had their shot. They didn't get it. This is the time they have him go over in Montreal and win. Yeah, he's going to win. Yeah.
I want nothing more than for Sammy to win this match, but I wasn't as convinced as you that he was going to be the winner.
Well, I definitely don't think you have a bad guy in Drew, so it's not going to be Damian Priest.
But don't they think he's a face?
But he's a face. Trick Williams is also kind of a face. He gets the face.
He better not be, though. He's working. I think he's going to work better as a heel. The only reason he's a face is because people love saying, whoop that trick.
People like new people, yeah. And then Orton and Orton and McIntyre is a Rumble main event. I mean, that's pretty big. But I just think Sammy and Drew McIntyre can have a good lead up to the Rumble, which, by the way, is just like a couple weeks away.
Yeah, okay. I think you've convinced me, Jim. I think you convinced me because I think it seems clear to me that Randy is not going to get back up to the top. It just seems clear to me that they are content for Randy Orton to be Randy Orton and to just kind of show up and get his big pops and to kind of just be a guy that can heat up a match quickly. That bums me out. I'd like to see Randy get another actual run, be a 15-time world champ. I think that'd be pretty cool. But you've convinced me, Jimmy. Give me Sammy. I love Sammy. I think Sammy can wrestle his ass off. I love that Sammy Dragunov match is like a complete throwaway match, but I'm going to keep that one in the back edges of my mind for match of the year. That's how great I thought that match was. So give me Sami Zayn anytime. So you've convinced me.
I really thought that was a good match as well. And it was funny because we were texting back and forth and you said, my mind is blown by this match. I'm like, just wait, because Dragunov's head got blown up on that as well. Saturday, January 31st is the Royal Rumble. So we are going to be talking about that next week. I can't believe I was like, wait, it's not like 3 weeks away. It's like next weekend.
That's so crazy.
That is crazy that we really don't know much going on right now. So next week on the podcast, we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to be one week closer to the NBA trade deadline. The Knicks might have imploded by then. So that'll be fun. My Sixers take is going to look really, really bad by then. So that'll be great as well. Jason Tatum will probably be starting and doing 30 minutes a night. We've got a couple big NFL games coming up, and of course the Saturday night's main event, Fallout, and Royal Rumble predictions. So it's going to be a great show next week.
We will be loaded for bear. We hope Chris gets his horseshoe situation figured out. We hope that Williams does not freeze away in these frigid temperatures in these next couple of days. Mr. Williams, good luck with the furnace. Jimmy Jam, I say we had a good hour and 15 for the people. Let's end this thing until we can talk again.
Look on social media for Williams to have a couple of takes for the games this weekend. We're definitely going to have him record some stuff, and then of course send it to me, and then I'll put it up because heaven forbid he does it. And you've been listening to the Morgan You Know podcast, part of the Morgan You Know podcasting network. Goodbye, net. Yeah.
Like, comment, subscribe.